Hello everyone and welcome back to Hannah's Happy Home. So today's video is going to be part 2 of our barn makeover. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'll be sure and link it down below. Here I'm just showing a couple of clips from part 1 of this barn makeover. We demoed the whole outside of the barn, took off all of the old siding, framed out new doors on the front and put up new siding, a new window. And now this past week we have been continuing the barn renovation. Here starting off, Jalen worked on trimming out the barn, and then by the end of this video you will see this barn completely finished. It's a huge transformation. The before and afters are just crazy and we cannot believe how amazing it turned out. This was definitely a lot of work. We worked for a solid 2 weeks on this barn, so seeing just how amazing it turned out made it all worth it. We did 2 sliding stained barn doors on the front, a barn light. It just turned out awesome, so be sure that you stay tuned until the end to see the whole transformation. Jalen is putting the last of the trim on the shed here around the little doorway where the chickens will be able to go in and out of the barn. And real quickly here, I just wanted to mention that next week on Tuesday, I'm doing a big giveaway over on my Instagram. So if you have Instagram, be sure that you head over and follow me so that you don't miss out. And I have been posting a lot in my stories about this barn makeover this past week. You kind of get to see a little bit of behind the scenes over on my Instagram. Like I had mentioned in the last video, there was a second layer of concrete here close to the barn that was starting to chip up, so we had to remove that. And there still is a little bit more work that we have to do to the edge of this concrete here just to smooth it out a little bit. And it was so cute. As soon as Jalen finished jackhammering, the boys jumped in and said, "We'll clean it all up for you, Daddy." And Kyle grabbed the shovel and started shoveling it into the bucket, and Owen started picking up the pieces. They're always such big helpers and always eager to jump in and help whenever they can. Now we are ready to start painting the barn, and we decided to paint the whole barn the same color as the house. so we just color matched it to the stucco on the house. I got that paint from Lowe's. I think it was just a basic outdoor exterior paint, and I did get it in a satin finish. And then for all of the trim on the shed, we went with the same color as the fascia on the house, which is just a nice dark gray color. Then the vents at the top of the shed, the window, and also the light on the front and the hardware for the sliding doors will all be black, and it all just came together perfectly. But we should have kept a closer eye on the weather radar. As you'll see here in about a minute, we got hit with an unexpected rainstorm like right when we had finished painting. That storm just came out of nowhere over the mountain. Like, we had clear skies, it was hot. This is just the joys of monsoon. We should have painted early this morning. Thankfully, the paint on the sides and the back of the shed were dry before it started raining, but the paint on the front of the shed was still wet, and so it just ran down the sides of the shed out onto the concrete and into the barn because we didn't have the spouting up on the front of the barn. So the water was just running off of the roof, down the side of the barn, and into the barn. So we just had all of that painty water in the barn. It was pretty discouraging, but we did get a really pretty rainbow at the end of all of that rain. And of course, we are grateful every time that it rains here during monsoon season. So now that it was too wet to do any more work on the barn, we just headed over to the shop and started building our DIY barn doors. So I'm going to try and explain to you a little bit how Jalen made these barn doors. So right here we had 4 different 1x12x8 boards, and there at the beginning you saw him measure and cut all of those to size, to the length that we needed for the barn. And then he's using 1x4 boards at whatever length you need for the sides, and then he also did a 1x4 board at the top, and then we're going to do a wider board at the bottom. So the board at the bottom was a 1x6, and he's measuring there and marking exactly where he wants the screws to go. And we use black screws for this because since we're staining the doors, you are going to see the screws, and so he wanted them to all be spaced out evenly, so he just had to mark with his pencil exactly where he wanted each one to go. did have to build this on the floor because Jalen's workbench obviously wasn't big enough to build a whole door on, and we needed a nice big flat surface, and he did have to clamp the door. When we put the final board on here across the top, he clamped it just to pull all of those middle boards together and make everything flush. And then he's doing a 1x4 in the middle, and then he used 1x4 boards to do the design on either side. These barn doors just turned out so awesome. Jalen did an amazing job on these, and now I'm thinking that we might have to put a barn door somewhere in our house because these are just so neat. Okay, so now it's the next morning and we got started with the painting right away, first thing in the morning before any rain showers could sneak up on us that afternoon. But it was looking like it would be clear skies all day long, which it was, so the perfect day to get all of this painting done. We started off by masking and painting all of the trim on the shed, and then lastly Jalen did take the paint sprayer and have to quickly repaint just the front of the shed. Thankfully we didn't have to repaint the whole entire shed, it was just the front. We were able to reuse the old gutter that was on the barn before. Jalen just sprayed that with the same color as the trim, and then I also taped up and set out the window and sprayed that black, and then we got that installed. And I just love this little antique window that we found. It was just the perfect addition to the barn here. Now that all of the painting was done, we headed over to the shop to build the second and final barn door. I'm staining these doors now with the color Special Walnut. It's the same stain that we use throughout the inside of our house and on our front porch. But before I applied that stain, I did quickly apply a pre-stain wood conditioner all over the wood, let that dry for a few minutes, and then I came in with my stain. And I did end up doing 2 coats of stain on these doors. I did the first coat here, we set the one door up to dry, and then I did the first coat on the second door, and by that time we could swap them and I could do the second coat. After 2 coats of stain on both doors, I let those doors dry completely overnight, and then the next morning I used this Valspar clear exterior sealer on the doors. We love this stuff. We've used it on a lot of other exterior wood projects like the wood on the front porch and different things like that. It has almost like a glue consistency and it goes on yellow, but don't worry, it will dry completely clear. After that, we headed over to the barn to install the hardware for the sliding barn doors, and I got this hardware off of Amazon. It was a really great price considering how expensive sliding barn door hardware can be, and I also got rewards on the Fetch Rewards app for this hardware and the light that I bought off Amazon and basically everything that I bought for the shed. I've been talking a lot about Fetch Rewards lately, but I don't want you guys to miss out on the 3,000 points you guys can get when you scan your first receipt by using my code Hannah. I've been using it for a long time and it's just another way to save money and at least make some rewards when we're spending so much on house projects like this. Now we are installing the solar barn light on the front of the barn. It's got a 10-foot cord and then a solar panel that you put up on the roof. We don't have electricity to the barn, so the light that we put on the front had to be solar, and I actually had a hard time finding a barn light like this that was solar, but I did eventually find this one on Amazon. So now it is time for the best part of the video, which is the before and the afters. This barn was just such a crazy transformation. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. We appreciate each of you so much. I hope that you enjoy getting to see the complete transformation of this barn. We still are finishing up the inside of the barn and we want to build a better fence for the chickens, but we'll just show all of that in a future video. But the barn itself is complete and we are so happy with how it turned out. Stay tuned for more house projects in the future and we will see you in a couple days with a new video. Bye!